you won't be able to find anywhere else on the entire internet what I'm about to show you. This is going to be a long-term Bitcoin technical analysis that has some good and bad. The bad is it suggests we might not see much upside until September 2022, but the good news is that it means 300K plus Bitcoin is in fairly near sight, not too far out. Are you ready? Let's go. This is Bitcoin on the weekly chart. These are what I call origin lines. Typically, when an asset is very young, for example, a lot of coins that came out in 2020 or 2019, they first off create a bunch of price action that creates a set of origin lines, let's say between these two right here, that are now bolder. So a young asset that is only several months old creates a set of origin lines in this direction. It gets a little too hot too fast. It moves sideways and out of the origin line. And then the next time it comes up, for example, on the weekly or monthly scale, the top line that it had hit previously is no longer hit. This was the speed limit while it was young. Now that it's older, the next one down is the new speed limit. And then in order to continue its march to the upside, it typically moves down and sideways for a while, and it usually forms new origin lines. For example, the origin line that you see here that is purple, this was the bottom origin line of Bitcoin for all of eternity until the last capitulation, which hovered under it. So I'm going to zoom into that. Coronavirus dumped and it went definitively below and created, coincidentally, a brand new origin line in the same distance away as all the other origin lines. It got the bottom of that dip almost to the T. So now we have a new bottom origin line, and this is extremely common on younger assets. Let me show you Kusama as an example. But before I do, let me summarize here. The top ends typically are the speed limit of young coins. Then after it corrects and goes on another run, the speed limit is now the next line down here, and then it corrects. And sometimes around this time on young assets, it then breaks through what was the old bottom origin line, creates a new one. And then the next time it comes up, its speed limit is no longer this one. This was the previous speed limit when the market cap was smaller and the coin was younger. Now the speed limit is the next one down, for example. And after it hits that, then it moves sideways again. So I'm going to show you this example on Kusama. I'm on the Kusama weekly chart, and you can see that from March 2020 all the way until June 2021 this year, it spent its entire life between these trading channels. And so this upper line the entire time was the speed limit. Now that it's going down and correcting, what did it do? This bold line was the bottom origin line. Not only did it create another one, but it created another one and another one and another one and another one that I haven't even drawn, and another one. So it's created 4 new origin lines because its price action was simply way too hot, way too fast. There were a lot of aggressive buyers in this market, and it's essentially shedding all of the over-aggressive buying that happened. So the effect on Bitcoin is similar, but much less drastic than this. Now I'm going to flip back to Bitcoin and show you something that alludes to September 2022. So the bold line you see up here was the speed limit of the second major bull run in 2017. Now we can assume that this bold line is now out of touch. It won't be hit again. It is no longer the speed limit. Rather, the speed limit might switch from this one to this one that is now bold. However, it seems to be taking a completely different path to get here, and this is where we get to September 2020. So the speed limit was hit. You had one large trajectory, and you could see here the move of the next bull run really heated up after an origin line was hit, and it hit at the same time of the horizontal of the previous market cycle high. Something has changed within Bitcoin. Instead of moving sideways for one large green arrow to the side, Bitcoin capitulated past what was the origin line, which I'll bold for you, that line, it capitulated past that bold line. Therefore, you essentially get a reset button here. So instead of one large arrow to create the next bull run, Bitcoin price action essentially had a reset button because a new origin line was created. Now, instead of one large vector of force, it seems that Bitcoin might be moving in chunks or waves in order to get to its next speed limit. That would mean 2 arrows instead of 1. And the arrow ends when the bottom origin line is hit. But a new bottom origin line does not need to form yet because the speed limit hasn't hit. And this is what happens on smaller charts such as the 4-hour and the daily on younger assets that only go back to 2020. The same exact thing happens. And I remember back before the Wyckoff drop happened in May that I kept saying throughout April, hey, Bitcoin has gone on a 500, 600% run. You know, if this were an altcoin, that means it needs a 50 to 55% correction. Maybe I should treat Bitcoin like an altcoin, but I didn't in my analysis and I went wrong. And so I'm not ever going to do that again. So because I know the way that altcoins that are younger move on an origin line chart, I'm going to treat Bitcoin like it, because not treating Bitcoin like I treated all the other coins really failed me last time. I would have been expecting a drop down to about 30K had I just used my rule of thumb. 500 to 600% run, 50 to 55% correction, period. That's just how it works. And I decided to give Bitcoin a pass in my analysis and say, oh, it'll probably only get a 39 to 40% correction down to 40K. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to see where that arrow hits the bottom origin line and then give a rough trajectory up to the new speed limit to see what dollar value that gives us in roughly what time frame. But before we do that, make sure you hit the like button. And you can't do that if your phone is horizontal and the screen is maximized. Flip your phones or get flipped off. Now take your finger and hit that like button with a lot of love, especially returning viewers. Yours count the most. What's going to help me even more to continue making videos for you is if you leave me a random comment down below. Let's confuse the hell out of new viewers to this channel. They'll scroll down the comments and say, what is going on here? I can't deliver time-sensitive information to you unless you check to see that that bell is hit also. So make sure you smash that bell. Now let's jump back into this chart and figure out, when is Bitcoin gonna skyrocket up? Follow me on Twitter, cosasverdes2. Turn on your mic and camera and ask me questions directly and live. Links to the Discord community in the description section. Now I'm going to zoom in to this area. So now let's say Bitcoin were to stay in a range from roughly 60K to 30K until it hits that line, which this would make sense with an ascending origin line, because many times the way that price likes to break out of ranges is it hits the bottom a few times, then consolidates in the middle, then consolidates at the top and breaks out. So from a horizontal range perspective, albeit a range of 30K, which could be hugely and massively profitable, it makes sense in that specific regard. And it makes sense that it's going to allow all these layer ones and layer twos that have gotten way too hot. It's going to allow them to chill out, set new origin lines, set new speed limits, and it's going to let the market shed for a little bit, because we're simply not getting enough retail money in here for a second wave to keep those layer ones and twos pumping with market caps bigger than massive automobile companies. Do you realize this? These layer ones and twos without much revenue at all, even though they're doing great stuff for blockchain, they are bigger than the companies that are making your cars. That is not good. They probably need to shed. I'm not saying bear market. I'm a proponent of waves. And if there simply is not enough money to go around without a next wave of retail, because there are all sorts of solutions, all sorts of layer ones, this shit might need to go sideways for quite a while to let those overvalued layer ones and twos shed. It could be that simple. Well, Bitcoin simply ranges in that second wave between 30K and 60K until it hits that bottom origin line. So not only does it make sense structurally, but it makes sense from the idea that these layer ones probably have too big of a market cap to be sustainable, specific to the amount of money coming in, given that we don't have new blood in crypto. So therefore it's probably going to shed, and Bitcoin will likely just stay in this range. So again, Bitcoin consolidates in the middle of the range, consolidates at the top, bust out somewhere around September. And now the exciting part, let's take a look at reasonable paths up to its new speed limit. So I'll take a fractal from and voila. It's possible that this third run up is much bigger than these two, because these arrows were cut in half. And now that you could put these two together, it could be more of a equivalent of having two arrows together, allowing Bitcoin to have a more aggressive third wave up. And you saw that I just copied and pasted. I didn't stretch this out. I didn't make it different sizes or anything. It just happens to align with what? This next speed limit from a lower origin line that did not exist from the point at which I took this. That's a fan-freaking-tastic question, bald baby. Let's dive in and take a look. Clearly, this is a super aggressive guess. This line here could be the forever new speed limit instead of this line here. However, this puts Bitcoin at about 1.1 million bucks in just under 2 years. Less than 2 years, $1 million Bitcoin, if that same type of run were to happen. So let's take another fractal, because that would be blow-offy top, and I suspect that Bitcoin won't experience any more blow-off tops. This could mean that instead of skipping one origin line for the speed limit, similar to how Kusama made 4 new bottom origin lines, it's possible that the previous speed limit of this line here, the new speed limit might skip not 1, but 2 down, which is actually good news because it means the bear markets won't be so severe and long too. It'll just be more like waves and winters. It's not really that big of a deal, and this could be better for crypto. And even this type of move would put you in Q1 or Q2 of 2023, somewhere around 350 to 400K Bitcoin. I know we all want to be rich now, and this long-term analysis would really slow things down. However, I promise you, the glory cannot be too crazy far away. I am super serious with what I'm about to tell you. If you can't wait 1.5 to 2 years for the glory, you don't deserve glory. Click this link to see a more short-term Bitcoin price analysis and why 30K really might be in the picture sooner than later. And if hopium sounds better to you and you didn't see my last Bitcoin video, click this video right here. And if you're not subscribed, then what the hell are you doing in life? Click this circle right here. There is a present inside. You just got Timified.